Hey everyone, it's me again, Jackie Rogers from American SPCC. And today I am so excited to introduce you to Tracy Kawa. Tracy is the author of The 7 Pillars of Reinvention, Finding Your Passion and Purpose, and developer of the Kawa Assessment. She is on the show today to talk to more of the parents today, more about our careers and finding balance and how we can just get through the rest of 2020 with a brighter vision for our futures.
Right.
Tracy, thanks for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So I wanted, for everybody who's watching, I wanted a chance for them to get to know you a little better. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you got involved with American SPCC?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I love speaking. I love helping people. And I'm a Toastmaster, which is a public speaking group. So, a few years ago, I decided I really, even as a career coach, I want more purpose in my life, right? Like a lot of clients will come to me and say, oh, I want more purpose. Well, the same goes for me. I'm a human being. I wanted more passion and purpose in my life. And I wanted to add an element of public speaking that would be really meaningful to me. And I happen to be, very passionate about children and animals. And I went surfing online to check to see some of these different organizations that I don't really know of, and I really wanted one that had a positive spin, not one where, every day I'm going to be sitting crying my eyes out over the heartbreaking stories because there are so many of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to be able to make an impact in my own way in more of a positive light, and see how I could kind of shine that light, right, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I came across ASPCC, and the rest is history. I spoke with Dr. Tina. She's amazing. The whole membership, founding group membership, Genevieve, I give you all a lot of credit for what you do. Great stuff. Truly, truly great stuff.
Thank you. But I wanted to talk a bit about the good work that you do for families too. We align so much. Can you tell us a bit about like the work you do within the community or with families individually?
Yeah, if you can't tell from my accent, and the more emphatic I get, I guess my Brooklyn accent will come out more. But I'm originally from New York, moved down to Florida, and that was like in 1993. And instead of sitting, missing home at the time, then I basically just jumped in headfirst to community relations and all things that had to do with my community, my immediate environment. And back in the day, I was one of the founders. There were 7 of us, and I was one of the founders of a youth center. And then throughout the work that I've done with our family orthodontic practice, I was always involved with schools and with families and with parents. So it was just a natural gravitation for me to want to continue this type of work.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's so weird to think like where we are now in 2020, like the family businesses that we know, that we learned, like we grew up with, like you grew up with one. How would it fare today? Like what, I guess I can
Right. It's, it's funny, Jackie, because I saw, not that it's funny, but I saw a meme this morning that said, I don't think anyone, what is it? If you thought of where you were 5 years ago, like if somebody asked you 5 years ago if you thought you'd be here today, if somebody asked you in 2015 if you thought you'd be here in this place in 2020, would anybody have answered yes? No, none of us. Nobody would have thought that this is where we are, with COVID and all the, these extraordinary times that we're in. But the truth of the matter is that these times are really times to harness, grab onto. These are times that we're in very, very close quarters with our children, and we get to make the best of it. I remember my son's childhood. He's 18 now, and it went by in a flash. And we get to, like, as frustrated as we might be in any given moment, we get to remind ourselves, one day I'm going to miss this. One day I'm going to be so appreciative that I had this time with my little ones, that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So we really get to embrace that, and embrace all the opportunities that we have now to maybe become small business people, right? Entrepreneurs, to delve into new skill sets, to explore different careers that maybe weren't available 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's really an extraordinary time for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If we know how to really tackle it the right way.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the fear, isn't it? Like some people, a lot of people may have lost their jobs or are having to learn how to, do their job at home. They're also having to watch their kids. It's a constant balancing act.
Yep.
And you would think that being at home, working from home, you would have more time with your kids, but it just doesn't feel like that, right?
It feels like we're all on these high demand schedules. And the truth of the matter is, I learned quite a number of years ago that when we don't stop and smell the roses just for a few minutes, then everything goes by pretty quickly, and we don't really feel fulfilled with our day or with our job. Like, we've really got to stop and say, hey, I did a good job today. Like, even if nothing eventful happened, like I got all my work done, or I saw all my clients, I got my kids through their school day. Like, we have to celebrate the small milestones. That's what we have to do today.
Yeah. And you said something interesting just before reminding us that we need to celebrate those small wins, because we do, it's a lot that we've put up with this year.
Yeah.
But you said something about feeling fulfilled each day. Like we have these high demand schedules. We have a lot to do, and we can hit everything on our to-do list, but we can just feel depleted.
Absolutely.
So I feel like this year is really forcing people to go inwards and rediscover if what they do for a career is fulfilling, if it's meaningful enough to them. And if it's not, where do they go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. The worst thing you want is to be in close quarters feeling frustrated, with your loved ones, with your children, with your small children around. It's really important to explore careers that really suit our values, what we believe in, our not just our values, but our strengths, our competencies, to explore what makes us feel passionate, not what makes us feel like we've got lead weights on us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much opportunity now with everything being online. Many classes that might have been prohibitive because we didn't have the childcare, or because it was too far away, or because we didn't have the funds. I see so many online universities and different types of smaller businesses and institutions giving away scholarships. And there's so much to take advantage of right now. So for me, I really believe that when we're working in a zone where our strengths meet our skill sets, that intersection is that the intersection between passion and purpose, that's living in our zone of purpose.
Yeah. So I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that, if that's okay, and kind of talk about careers.
Mm-hmm.
So, we typically get into a career because we're passionate about it, or we think we're passionate about it at the time, right? We might change our minds. But in 2020 and during COVID, during an election year, why should anyone even be thinking about the future of their careers, in your opinion?
Gosh, let me reverse that question. Think about it like this. What if we didn't look at our careers? What if we just thought that the world was going to end tomorrow? It's like such a morbid thought to not have these things to look forward to and to not put our energy into crafting a career path. COVID isn't going to be here forever, right? I mean, we've got brilliant scientists like who are working in their passion and purpose, like diligently trying to find, like these cures. What would it be like if we weren't searching for more, right? There would be no hope. There would be no faith. There would be no confidence. And you said something earlier, actually, Jackie, which I wanted to circle back to, which is, yeah, there is that, whatever somebody believes in, there is that element of a deeper meaning, like going within, searching what else is there. It's not just about, the car I'm driving. Nobody sees my car. It's in my driveway, right? It's about the spirituality. Like, how do we go within to develop that resolve? And as one of my favorite motivational speakers, Jim Rohn, talks about resilience all the time. So how do we build that resilience? How do we go within to understand not only our strengths, but the strengths of the people around us, ignite the fire within us, ignite that, burning fire within others around us, go within, look for that deeper meaning, that spiritual connection, that then when everybody comes back together, they're united in an even bigger way, an even broader way, where we're bringing more skills to the table, we're innovating, we're solving problems. Who knows what tomorrow brings? It may bring a wealth of whole other industries that people are first exploring now during this time of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say firsthand, I just started learning about virtual events. So that's
right. Exactly. Yeah. Podcasts and all, podcast meetings. Yeah. Conferences. Sure.
All of it. It's definitely forced us to learn new things and roll with it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, there's one organization that I work with, a franchise broker association, and they actually, this is the first year that they're having their entire convention online. I mean, they used to have conventions with hundreds of, thousands of people. And this is the first year that the convention itself is online. So I think you just said something like these events. It's incredible what innovation will bring when we're all thinking in a productive way, not like a doom and gloom, but kind of like, hey, let's create new roads for tomorrow. Let's create new paths. Let's create new industries.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm because I went through this myself. And I see a lot of other people, like when we're at home and we're able to work now, we can kind of sit back like, okay, is this schedule good for me? What are the tasks that I'm doing every day really necessary? Is this really how I want my life to look like every single day? Do I want my kids to see me like this? Do I want to be this kind of model for them? Because they see everything that we're doing now because they are home with us.
They're watching, sure. And they know that every moment is not amazing. They know there are some moments that are really amazing and there are some moments that are not amazing. But it's about helping them understand how to navigate those moments that are not amazing, helping them build that emotional intelligence, helping them understand what to do with their minds and thoughts and their mouths, what comes in, what to do with all of, what comes in their ears and what comes out their mouths, what to do with all of that in the way of social and emotional intelligence when things aren't happening or clicking for us exactly the way we want them to. And again, that goes right back to resilience.
Yeah. And it's always something new to learn.
Yeah, always.
So again, like this year's presented opportunities for people to learn new tech skills or reevaluate their careers and think differently about the future of their work. If someone's thinking about making a change in their career, like today, what should they consider first?
It's very important to understand their own skill sets and strengths, and then combine that with their interests. And a lot of times, by the way, we know we're a people person, but we really don't know, do we have management skills? Do we have marketing skills? Like we don't, if we haven't literally been working in a particular field, we don't always know what we're good at. Or we might take for granted what our strengths are and what we're good at until somebody says, you know, you're really good at them. They're like, anybody can do it. No, not anybody can do what you're doing. You know, like a lot of times we just don't realize that this really is a special gift that we have. So one of the things that we can do is we can take an assessment, well, which helps us literally to understand that which is in our blind spot. It allows us to see ourselves in 360 degrees and see what our interests are and see what our uh, uh, our values, like the guiding principles, the way we make our decisions, the reason why we make those decisions, what are our strengths, what are our competencies, our skill sets. You know, when we identify all of the above, then usually we can make a better choice for ourselves regarding our career.
Mhm.
You
And
know, we
sometimes that's so hard to find sometimes, especially, I don't know. If you don't see that in yourself, it's really hard to identify. But I'm glad that there are assessments out there. It's just
yeah,
they're difficult to find sometimes. But I know you
yeah,
do them.
yeah. Well, I happen to have one. You know, most assessment, many, I'm not going to say most, many assessments on out in the market are actually personality based, which are great because they'll tell you a certain amount about yourself. But our assessment tool, the Kawa assessment, is actually business DNA related. It literally, like, okay, let me explain it this way. Did you ever go to the Muir Woods or see those great big redwood trees?
Mhm.
So or even if you've seen them online, you know that if you take a cross section of them, then you can count the rings and you can tell how old the tree is. And you can probably see other things like any trauma the tree has had or just other attributes about that tree. So our assessment is literally like taking a cross section of a person and being able to tell, like, what is this person's ideal fit and their cultural fit and their stage of growth and their values and their decision making process and their strengths and their skill sets. So it's taking all of that to give a holistic picture of who this person is. And from there, you can craft a game plan or a strategy to develop in your career or to develop as a leader or to develop the talent that you have on your staff if you are a large or small business. So there's a lot of information that you can glean from an assessment, and there's just so much that so many ways that you can apply the information that you glean from it. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, because there's so many career opportunities out there if you know what to look for. Um, and maybe this year, some people may feel a little lost in what their skill sets actually are. Um, so it might be good to take an assessment just to see where they lie. If there's something more for them.
Yeah.
And maybe just
Maybe.
figure out what their next move is.
Yeah, maybe many people would be very surprised. I have had many clients that said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that I was so strong at XYZ." You know, and then we start having the conversation, and we actually quite often find out where they've used those skills, but they just didn't even think like, "Oh, right, I was using that skill in this way." You know,
Mhm.
it's just these things that go unnoticed, and it's
Yeah,
just bringing it from the dark into the light.
I like that. Bringing it in from the dark to the light.
Yeah, bringing it from the dark to the light.
Well, if you have any advice for parents
Mm,
at the moment
yes.
about life.
Life. You know, number one is don't take yourself too seriously
Mhm.
because you don't want your kids taking themselves too seriously either. You know, you've got to laugh. You've got to find the humor and you've got to find the love in everyday moments and interactions, right? Life is fleeting and you don't realize how precious your kids are and how important every life is and how every single person matters. You don't realize it sometimes until until you're separated in some capacity. And it could just be with your kids going off to college, but you don't realize that these moments go so quickly. You got to grab them. You got to grab them, and you got to, when you feel like yelling, you got to love those kids up. You've got to give a hug when you feel frustrated. You've got to give a hug, because it'll make your kids feel better, and it'll make you feel better. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Tracy. And thanks so much for, coming on the show today and talking with me a bit about, just about life, about our careers and relating with our kids. And, we really appreciate, you coming on and everything you do for ASPCC.
Thank you, Jackie. I really appreciate being invited, and I've enjoyed speaking with you. Yes, great questions, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So for anyone watching, if you'd like to connect with Tracy, you can find her on LinkedIn or go to her website at kawacommunitypartners.com, and I'll put the links in the comments.
Awesome.
And to everyone, our listeners who feel called to make a difference in the world or just right in your own home, we thank you so much for participating in this important conversation. I hit my computer.
You gotta find the humor in everyday moments.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, and that's a wrap.